Hey, it's Friday. What's up, everyone? And welcome to episode 4 of the Fantasy Cheat Sheet. This is week 4 of the NFL, and we are coming at you to break down the 10 things that you need to know heading into this Sunday's games. As always, the Fantasy Cheat Sheet is a proud member of the Going for Two Live podcast network. And you can find us, as always, on Twitter at Going for Two Live there. And also head on over to YouTube. Make sure you subscribe for that Going for Two Live YouTube page so you never miss an episode of us or any of the other great programming that is on Going for Two Live. Like I said, we're going to break down the 10 things that you need to know heading into this weekend. And here to help me out are my two co-hosts, as always. Welcome in at Drop the Mic FF, Mike Hicks, joining us tonight. How you doing, Mike?
How's it going, Jay? What's up, Evan? I'm just ready to get week 4 started. Let's do this thing.
That is right. Also joining me tonight is Evan Ritter. You can find him at EV_RITT3. Evan, what's up?
Yes, sir. Another good Thursday game last night, man. These Thursday games are, really, they've really been exciting, even when we're not expecting them to be good ones. Even the teams we're not expecting to get blown out have, really shown us something, and they've all been good. So, I mean, really all the games so far. I'm just loving this year so far, man. Yeah, excited to be here with you guys once again, and let's go ahead and get into week 4.
That's right. Let's get to these takes. I am your host, Jay Christensen. You can find me at JAYC_DFF. And as he sometimes does, you could see my brother there in the chat, Joshua Christensen. Let's get to these takes. Yes, they're going to be hot takes. They might be right. They might be wrong, but they're going to be hot. So we'll be getting to that in just a second. First, as Evan alluded to here, we had a solid game last night. We had Thursday night football. This was the battle of the last two number 1 picks. We had Trevor Lawrence going against Joe Burrow, so that was a nice little matchup there. And it turned into a nice little game there. We had the Bengals defeat the Jaguars in a little bit of a comeback fashion. They ended up winning on a last-second field goal, 24-21. This game saw a fair bit of offense. Each quarterback looked pretty good. Lawrence and Burrow saw good games out of James Robinson and some of the pass catchers on the Bengals. We saw Tyler Boyd going off. Laviska Shenault looked good. So overall, a decent fantasy night. But as always, on the Fantasy Cheat Sheet, we give our takeaways from the game. So we're just going to run through quick takeaways, what you saw, what was interesting, any big takeaways from the game last night. And we'll start with you, Evan.
Yeah, big takeaway for me is Jacksonville finally showed some life. Trevor Lawrence showed flashes of his potential and, why he was the number 1 overall pick. I mean, some of his throws, dude, he absolute seeds. Some of those throws he made to the sidelines, they're difficult throws, but he made them look easy. I can't wait to go back and watch the film because he really made some impressive throws, and he impressed me with his ability to run the ball too. I mean, you got to remember the guy's 6'6", and he made some, he made some moves and made players miss, and he just made them look silly, especially on that one touchdown run. So he's taking a step forward every week. You can see he's learned from some early mistakes. I mean, throwing the ball away when he knew he had no receivers open. I'm in on Lawrence's talents for sure. Laviska is another player I want to touch on. He finally stepped up. Unfortunately, it came at the expense of a DJ Shark injury, who he left early with a fractured ankle, I believe. Right? Yeah. But I'm sure, I'm sure fantasy managers nonetheless were glad to see a good game out of Laviska because a lot of analysts were touting a breakout season for the young wideout. He even saw some deep balls, which is encouraging because, we think of Shenault as more of a quick hitter, get the ball out and, to him on screens and quick slants, get him out in space. So, I mean, exciting to see Laviska break out. Unfortunately, I dropped him in a couple leagues. I kind of,
Oh no!
Yeah. I got out on Laviska in a couple leagues, man. And
gonna blow that fab, pick him back up, right?
Yeah, right, exactly. And then James Robinson, man. James Robinson looked good once again, proven last year wasn't a fluke. The Hyde injury obviously allowed him to get all the volume and really showcase his talent. Because obviously he needs to prove that for some reason to Urban Meyer. But yeah, this backfield moving forward is 100% his. Even when Carlos Hyde comes back healthy, this backfield's his. Obviously, unless Urban Meyer for some reason holds him back, which we've already seen happen, this year. And then, speaking of Meyer, man, does he seem to be having a hard time making that transition to the professional level from college. Obviously, just like Lawrence is transition from college, is going to take some time. But we've at least seen Lawrence start to make some better decisions and take strides. I'm not convinced Urban Meyer is learning from his mistakes, or he's just too arrogant to think he needs to adapt. Whatever the case is, it's not looking good for the 0-4 Jaguars, and things need to change quickly, especially from the head coaching standpoint, or his tenure in Jacksonville seems like it's going to be short-lived. Last note of importance, at least for me, was Joe Mixon. He didn't have the best game, but obviously he's still an important piece of that Bengals offense and a key player on a lot of our fantasy teams. So we all know he went down with injury, and from what I've heard, he suffered a minor ankle sprain. But we know even minor sprains can be nagging and keep players out of the game or two. So Mixon's in this time. I expect P. Ryan to get most of the work at running back, and rookie Chris Evans to see an increase in playing time as well. But hopefully for me and all the other fantasy managers, we wish Mixon a quick recovery.
Yes, Mike, let's throw it to you. Takeaway from the game.
I can't believe I'm bringing his name up, because if you would have asked me before the game was over who the last person on the Bengals I would have brought up, I would have said tight end CJ Uzomah. But when you have 83% snap share, 5 catches on 6 targets for 95 yards and 2 touchdowns, with an offense that has Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon at the time he was healthy, Jamar Chase, with T. Higgins out, I think that was part of the reason Uzomah did good, or had more targets. But he had 24 points in fantasy. And here's the thing. Higgins might not come back super healthy, but the more that Joe Burrow uses Uzomah and trusts him, the more that's going to open up even further down the field for Boyd and Chase, because he's going to be able to use Uzomah and trust Uzomah in the mid-range like other good tight ends in the league. And then the other wide receivers are going to be able to go down the field and get their stuff. And it's even going to open it up for Chase and them more. So I think this is more to come. Maybe he's not going to get the yards and the points, but this is going to help the team better.
And he's probably tight end 5 on the year now, probably.
Yeah.
Probably jumped up there already.
Yeah.
And real quick, shout out is CJ Uzomah or CJ Gronkowski. He won a person a milli maker yesterday in DraftKings, man. He won people a lot of freaking money in DFS yesterday. Whoever rostered him at the captain spot, kudos to you, because you guys are sitting pretty today.
Yeah, he was a fantastic play in DFS. And what's up, Kyle? Checking us out on the stream there. My takeaway, I echo everything you guys said there. Not a ton to add. I just think James Robinson, just to echo that, I just want to, he should be a starting running back in this league. I just think he's a solid running back. He deserves to be in the mix. So it's good to see that. I think he's a solid play going forward the rest of the way. It was also good to see, I think Tyler Boyd, just how he was leaned on, really, especially down the stretch there, that he was catching the big catches. Chase obviously had some big plays there. He was looking good too, but Boyd really was kind of the go-to guy on their comeback, especially down the stretch, catching some big catches for them to help them end up winning the game in the end there. So yeah, not a bad for on the slate there. Looking at Bengals, Jaguars, you get the 2 number 1 picks, but you're not totally sure what you're going to get. And we definitely got a decent game last night for sure. So enough about Thursday night football. Let's look forward to Sunday. We have an entire slate of games and a Monday game. Let's get into our 10 cheats of the week. These are the 10 things that you need to know heading into this weekend's games. And we're going to kick it off with you, Evan. Give us the first topic of the week.
So my first topic of the week is going to be Zach Moss. A lot of people picked him up probably on waiver wires this week. He was definitely a top or a hot ad. But yeah, I'm buying in on Zach Moss. Even though this is still a committee approach with Singletary, getting close to equal amount of carries. And week one, it seemed to be his backfield, at least we thought. But yeah, it since has taken a turn, and it looks like Moss is now the clear 1A running back for the Bills. And soon, I think he's going to pull away from Singletary and begin to get the majority of the workload. Over his last 2 games, he has produced 3 touchdowns. He's been getting work in the passing game as well. Last week against Washington, he put up 60 yards on the ground on just 13 carries, total 3 catches, 31 yards, and a touchdown through the air as well. This week, he gets the Houston Texans, and we know how juicy of a matchup that is, for the Bills alone and their run game. The Bills are number 1 this week in implied points with 31.5 points. They get the number 1 running back strength of schedule in the Houston, and have the 4th best run blocking advantage according to PFF. You really can't ask for a better setup for the Bills running backs this week. It's still not a sure thing Moss gets, more work than Singletary. But what I'm sure of is that Zach Moss is the better running back in this backfield. And I believe it's only a matter of time before he begins to see around 70% of the workload. If that happens this week, you can lock Moss in as a top 12 option. But, I mean, even if he continues to split the work and sees, only the 13 touches he saw last week, you could still expect a huge game from him, and Singletary for that matter. Go ahead and lock Moss into your flex spot this week and reap the rewards. If you don't own him, he's also one of my top buy low options, not only for, the obvious reasons I already stated, but his schedule moving forward is cake. He gets the Texans this week, followed by the Chiefs, the Titans, the Dolphins, Jaguars, and the Jets. So yeah, I'm buying all in on Zach Moss.
That's a juicy schedule, yeah, for sure. That's fantastic. And Zach Moss, for going from healthy scratch week 1 for whatever reasons, I don't know. I guess seems like it was for performance, like he just wasn't the guy, and now he's had 2 good weeks in a row, so that it's good signs pointing forward. Mike, thoughts on first buying? Are you buying into Zach Moss? Would you go out and trade for him? And the Bills running game going into this weekend versus Houston.
Okay, so here we go. I am not a Moss fan. I am not as high on him as Evan. I've been a Singletary guy out of the 2. But out of the 2, yes, I've been a Singletary fan, but I remember saying at the first show, stay away from the backfield because we all thought Josh Allen was going to get goal line. We never knew who was going to be the 2. I do agree with Evan that it does look like Zach is going to be starting to get more of the carries. I think it's going to be more 60-40 than 70-30 like Evan thinks it could turn out to be. But if it does turn out that way and that schedule coming up, you have to go and try to get him if you can. And if you do have him, you have to play him as a flex at least.
Yeah, I think in this running back landscape, which I think plays into this too, which yes. I've been saying, it just seems like it's a wasteland. Like it's just, you've got top end guys not performing. You've got satellite backs and guys that are PPR backs really holding their own. Like they're just consistent guys like Chase Edmonds or Nyheim Hines and that. And Zach Moss has been in that mix. Just he's been able to do enough, and he's getting touchdowns. That's really his big thing. He's been the guy that they're going to go to more when they're close over Singletary. I think Singletary's going to have to score from further out. And I think Moss gives them a different element. I just like he's a little more physical back, so I like the element that he brings to that game. He can catch the ball. It'd be nice if he to the comment there that he was involved even more there, but they just spread it around a lot there. A point that I want to make is this is a team that is running tons of snaps. This is a team that's top 6 in pass count, but also top is the second most offensive plays. They just run a ton of plays on offense, and everybody's getting involved. You've got guys like Diggs is wide receiver 26. Not great for Diggs, but he's still in the top 30 there. Beasley's 29. Sanders is wide receiver 31. Singletary's RB29, Moss is RB24, and Knox is tight end 9. So everybody's getting involved here. No one's a 1 besides Allen, who's QB6. But really, this is an offense that's running a lot of plays and getting a lot of guys involved. And I don't really see that changing because the offense is that good. They don't necessarily apply the brake pedal too much. They will lay it on teams. They will score. And so I like really any guy in this offense is a guy I think you got to just roll out because there's a little risk reward,
Yeah,
but the
yeah, and that's
reward's
my
going to
main
be
point.
nice. The reward's going to be nice. Yeah.
That's my main point is you can get him for so low. And then, like I said, with this strength of schedule coming up in this offense, it's not going to hurt you to take what you can get him for. It's not going to hurt you to take a shot on him. And if he doesn't pan out, then, it is what it is. But I really think, in this offense, especially, and especially if he can start, pulling away from Singletary as far as that workload and that snap percentage goes, then in this offense with the strength of schedule, I think he is a legit buy low candidate that can really, really return some good value for you. Obviously to start off just in your flex, but with even higher upside.
All right, so we like the Bills. Bills offense is good. Let's run to topic number 2. Mike, what's the first thing you got for us this week?
All right, so I'm staying in the AFC East, and I am actually talking about your favorite team, Jay, and that is hard for me to do.
Oh, yes. Let's go.
So, New England Patriots wide receiver Jacoby Myers. I mean, hasn't had a touchdown yet, but here's the thing. He's on the field 95% snap percentage. He has 19 receptions on 29 targets for 176 yards. But he's got almost 25%. He's got a 24.8% target share. And he's 89% of the time he's running a route when he's on the field. I mean, that's pretty high. And here's the thing. Tampa Bay has given up the most fantasy points to wide receivers this year. And people aren't realizing that because Tom Brady is winning games for him. The Rams proved in the air with Cup and all them that you can pass on the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are going to win this game, in my opinion, because of the revenge factor and breaking the record and all that. But in my opinion, Jacoby Myers is going to end up about 70 to 80 yards. But the biggest thing for me is he's getting in the end zone. This is the game that Jacoby Myers gets his touchdown.
Finally gets
This is it. This is it. He gets his touchdown. Book it.
And the Patriots win, right? Is that the
No?
Come on.
And the other reason I think Jacoby Myers gets in is because this run game is a little bit abysmal. I think you would admit that. And I personally think that if Marlon Mack gets traded, I think this could be a landing spot.
So the Patriots or the Bucks?
Patriots.
I mean, both run games are questionable, I guess, but
Patriots.
Yeah, this week's going to be tough sledding for the run game on the Patriots versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who no one wants to run against them. So, yeah, I mean, at some point, Myers is going to catch a touchdown, I would assume. So why not this week? I mean,
really. I just have that gut feeling.
Any thoughts on this Jacoby Myers? I like myself Jacoby Myers. He's going to be involved in the target share. It's just whether he gets in the end zone. Evan, do you think he gets there this week?
I mean, with the amount of times I project Mac Jones to be throwing the ball, it's highly possible. I just don't know if any of those pass attempts are going to be in the red zone. But I mean, yeah, we saw Myers get 27.5% target share last week. So like you said, we know he's going to see volume. He's going to see the targets. And I mean, I think at least this week alone, like I just said, with the amount of times Mac Jones is going to throw the ball, I think he's easily a high-end flex, with higher upside if he does get into the end zone. And because we know teams just are not willing to run against this Bucs defensive front, and as they shouldn't. But this secondary, we have seen kind of break down at times over the Bucs secondary just does not look good. So yeah, with Jones, the amount of times he's going to throw it, Myers is definitely a high-end flex for me. To that point, though, moving forward, I think his upside's kind of capped just because this offense, I'm really not in on this Patriots offense.
Yeah, I could. After last week, I feel you there. I mean, just that offense was subpar to say the least last week. So yeah, going forward, I don't know what the ceiling is for sure. All right, I'm going to get to number 3 for the week this week. My first one is on Corey Davis. I'm declaring it Corey Davis revenge game versus the Titans, and everybody crushes their revenge game, right? So that's all you really need to know. But really overall, I mean, the Titans have not been great against wide receivers. They've given up 3 wide receiver 1 performances this year and even gave up a fringe wide receiver 1 performance to Freddie Swain on Seattle, which was interesting. And then also 3rd overall in fantasy points allowed to wide receivers. Corey Davis has been really the lone bright spot. I mean, it was mostly week 1. Has been a struggle for them the last couple of weeks, as obviously Zach Wilson has struggled at the quarterback position. But overall, he averages a target share of 22.4 and had a 30% target share last week. So if it was going to go to someone, I think it's going to go to Corey Davis. They may get Crowder back this week. That's okay. But we're looking at Elijah Moore being out. But he's been the main guy that's been involved when they've actually been able to do anything on offense. And I like that Titans matchup this week. It is intriguing because he is going against this old team. And I would think if Wilson's going to turn something around here, I think this is a good defense to do it against. Other teams have been able to throw there. So I like playing Corey Davis this week as a guy that will do better. I think you could slot him into your lineup as like I'd expect wide receiver, high-end wide receiver 3 numbers, but it could kind of have the upside of a wide receiver 2 this week. So I like him as a guy you could play that you wouldn't necessarily expect. Wide receiver is really deep, but I think Corey Davis can have a good game this week. And plus, who doesn't love a revenge game? Thoughts, guys, on Titans, Jets, and specifically Corey Davis here. Do you think the Jets offense can actually score some points this week?
So I'll start. I actually, in a co-manager league, we started Corey Davis over LaVisca for the reason of what you are bringing up, the reason you brought this up. We thought he would come out.
Now the bar's a little higher.
It's a little higher now, but we thought he would perform without Elijah Moore in the lineup. I know Crowder is going to play, but I think, like you said, without Elijah Moore, he's going to get a lot of play. I would plug him in as a wide receiver 3 any day this week on any lineup. I mean, obviously, it depends on who's in your team, but I would feel comfortable with him as a wide receiver 3. I'm playing him in SFB as well. I have him on my team. So I would definitely put him out there. For another thing for this whole game, I'm still curious how this game flow is going to be now with the news out at Tennessee about their wide receivers being out. So I have a feeling Tennessee is going to try to slow the game down, but I still think Zach Wilson's going to have to throw the ball. And if that is the case, that means Corey Davis is going to eat.
What about you, Evan? Thoughts on this game?
Yeah, so I think, we already know the Titans are they're sitting out their top 2 pass catchers in Brown and Jones. So I think this is a huge Derrick Henry game for one, which could chew up a lot of clock. So I don't know how much, Zach Wilson and the Jets are going to be on the field. And even when they are, even though the Titans defense really doesn't scare anyone, I mean, the first two weeks, they looked absolutely awful. I mean, they gave up 4 touchdowns in week 1. But last week they kind of, bounced back against the Colts, not allowing, a touchdown. I think the receivers only combined for like 108 yards. They were all over Wentz. They played a lot of man coverage. And I think that's going to work again against Zach Wilson. Kind of the similar defensive game plan. But with that being said, it's kind of to the Jacoby Myers, point. We know that Wilson is going to target Corey Davis, and I expect him to be down in this game. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of if that is the game flow, then that's a recipe for Corey Davis to have a decent game. And we know, like you said, everybody plays a little extra oomph when they have a revenge game. So who knows? But I'm kind of in on the Titans to slow down this Jets offense just because I have not seen, Zach Wilson really take any strides yet. I'm in on Corey Davis as the player. I'm just not in on this Jets as an offense, as, I don't think anyone is. But from a fantasy standpoint, and to your point, Corey Davis is going to see the targets.
Yeah, it's like this would be not a make or break for Zach Wilson, but this is a nice, it's a little softer matchup. We'll see how the game flow goes. I sure that's Tennessee's going to be their plan with their 2 running backs out. It'll be interesting to see if that Jets defense, which has shown they're not bad, they're not the worst defense, they're not great, and they got to be gearing up for that. But sometimes you can gear up for Derrick Henry and it still doesn't work out. So we will see how the game goes this Sunday. Let's get to number 4, though. Evan, we are up to you. What is your 4th topic of the week?
So I want to talk about Robert Woods because a lot of people drafted him. A lot of people at this point are freaking out about him. I'm not quite there yet. And I made the mistake of kind of getting rid of LaVisca too soon because I just wasn't, in on this Jags offense as a whole and the whole Urban Meyer and blah, and the list goes on. So that's a little different than this scenario. This offense is freaking phenomenal. So yeah, buy low on Robert Woods. I mean, I get it so far. He's been one of the most frustrating players to roster, especially where you drafted him. And I mean, and watching his counterpart in Cooper Kupp just go bananas every week. And easily establish himself as a surefire wide receiver 1. I get it. I promise I do. But, remember we drafted these two guys as pretty much being interchangeable. You know what I mean? A lot of us had Woods as the superior option. Obviously, through 3 weeks, that has not been the case. But it's not like Woods isn't involved in this offense. He saw 15 targets over his last 2 games and has played 88% of the snaps. He ran 35 routes last week. Compared to Kupp's 38, but Woods also got involved in the run game, and I think moving forward we'll see that a little more of them trying to get him, on those kind of end arounds and so forth, and keep the defense guessing. I just think this has been a string of bad luck and underwhelming games for Woods. But as moving forward with how well Kupp's played, I really think teams are going to have to game plan for him more and kind of try at least to take him out of the equation, forcing Stafford to target Woods a little more. In 2019, he started off, kind of slow too, even worse than he has this season. He opened the 2019 season with 13 receptions, 143 yards, and no touchdowns. That was an even worse fantasy start than he's had so far this season. But he still managed to finish as the wide receiver 14 in PPR. So yeah, I mean, I'm still in on Woods. I still think the Rams, obviously are still in on Woods. They believe in him, obviously, as his routes and his routes run and his snap percentage so far this season, shows. So, I mean, he is second in all major reception categories, obviously behind Cooper Kupp, but I don't expect this production from him the rest of the season. Even if Cooper Kupp continues his breakout season the rest of the year, Woods is going to get his in this offense. It's a top 5 offense. There's no doubt in my mind, and there shouldn't be any doubt in fantasy managers' minds either, that that better days are ahead for Robert Woods. Obviously, there's fantasy managers in your league super frustrated with him. So go ahead and buy low. And if you already do roster him, just hold tight, man, because I promise you there's better days ahead for Robert Woods and the breakout is coming.
I agree with you. That offense is too good for someone else not to do something, and he's the best, second best option in that offense. So I do think though it is the Kupp show. I expect Kupp to kind of remain the main guy. Just seems like there's a connection there with Stafford that's just too much to deny. I know it's only 3 games, but 3 games is a pretty decent trend. But Robert Woods is going to have a good game at some point. Mike, do you think that happens this weekend with the Rams there with Woods?
Not quite yet. I still think it's the Cooper Kupp show. I do agree that he's going to get his run, but I think this is the Cooper Kupp offense. And the problem I don't think at the end of it is going to be Robert Woods' production overall. It's going to be the fact of where we all drafted him.
Good call, yeah.
Yeah, I was on the bandwagon of that Kupp was the better value. I flip-flopped. Last year it was like Kupp was going consistently over Woods. I'm like, I feel like these guys are close, so draft Woods. This year it was the opposite. It was, okay, Woods is going consistently over Kupp. I felt like Kupp was the better value because I just felt like they were pretty equal, and they had an equal shot to be the kind of the focal point of the offense, or at least be able to be PPR monsters, just be consistently involved, lots of catches. I didn't expect it to quite go like this, where Cooper Kupp's the best receiver in the league, but it was just like Cooper Kupp was just a fantastic value, which he ended up rising a lot as the drafts went on. But I would certainly, to your point, buy low on Robert Woods. I love Robert Woods. I like him. I have him on numerous teams of mine. And was drafting him in the spots that he was going in the redraft leagues that I'm in. So I'm in. I'd like to see it. It'd be nice to feel a lot better about it when you see him get like a 10 target game. That'd be nice. Yeah.
And I think one more point real quick is, now with Matthew Stafford, with Jared Goff, a lot of his throws were intermediate, and we know Robert Woods is, a beast and a monster at those intermediate and kind of underneath routes. With Matthew Stafford, he, has a huge arm and he can go downfield, and that's really just not Robert Woods' game. So I think that's what we're seeing so far in the beginning of the year. But I think moving forward, defenses are going to be able to kind of, get some film on them, be able to kind of scheme up a good defensive game plan, and try to, stop Cooper Kupp, like I said, as much as they can. I don't think, no one's going to stop Kupp at this point, like you said, with the connection with him and Stafford. But I just think that moving forward, every game isn't going to be Cooper Kupp. At some point, Stafford's going to be forced to, get it to Woods on those underneath and intermediate routes.
For sure. Let's get it to our next topic. Moving it along here to you, Mike. What is number 5 this week?
Poor Justin Fields.
Oh, too soon, man.
I know it's too soon, but I got to bring it up. I'm going to say some stats and then circle back to my main point. In last week's game against the Browns, he was sacked 9 times. But here's the problem that I have. 6 out of 20, 68 yards on 20 pass plays. Only 7 times he had more than 5-man protection. When you're being pressured that much, don't you think the coaches would put either an extra running back, an extra tight end, something in to help chip away the defense? Well, they didn't. Myles Garrett, 8. Myles Garrett had 4.5 sacks, 9 pressures, and 7 quarterback hits. Matt Nagy only had 2 quarterback runs, like actual played runs. 1 play out of the 20 pass plays one play in the entire game had motion in it. So you're telling me that you're smart enough with a rookie quarterback to just go out there and not try to figure out what the defense is doing? Matt Nagy needs to go. That's point 1. Point 2 is, if this is mainly dynasty, because in redraft you're not playing him unless you're in a deep superflex league, don't give up on Fields yet. I've heard people freaking out. It's going to be okay in the long run. I just think you have to be more patient with Fields, not because of Fields, but he's not being put in the right position. I don't think Nagy is putting him in the right position. When you have drafted him, when you move up to the 12th spot in the draft in May or the end of April to draft him, you have 100 and something days to prepare a game plan for your rookie QB. They obviously didn't do that. This game plan is meant for Dalton. If they keep Dalton in, that's one thing. If they keep Fields in and they don't change the way they're playing, they're going to get him killed. And that's why I am picking the Detroit Lions to win on Sunday.
Nice. I like it. Yeah, Matt Nagy opened up Microsoft Word, and he took Dalton's game plan, he copied it, opened up a new tab, pasted it, and then saved, and then just went into Sunday. And that was it. All right, got my game plan. Let's run this. And I mean, not that Fields played great, but I don't think that was the best game plan in the world.
No,
I like Justin Fields, so I'm a believer. So I don't know, man. I just think I need to see Matt Nagy go first before I believe in anything there on that offense.
Yeah.
What do you think, Evan? I can't even talk about that game. That was too much to talk about last week.
That was awful, man. Me personally, I love Justin Fields. I'm in no way, shape, or form giving up on him after one game. Especially like you guys have mentioned, that game plan, that was all that, it seemed ESPN could talk about, was just how awful that game plan was. And I mean, when guys like us are sitting on our couch and we're like, dude, what is this guy doing? You know what I mean? There's a problem. But yeah, I'm just not giving up on Justin Fields after one game whatsoever. On paper, going up against the Lions, this looks looks to be a good matchup. But they've actually been scrappy this year. You know what I mean? So I don't know how great of a matchup it is. But I certainly think adjustments are going to be made. And Justin Fields is going to have a better game this week. And I'm absolutely going back to the well on him, especially in DFS.
Yeah, I mean, last week, the Lions, Baltimore was supposed to crush them, and that did not come to pass. Like Tyson Williams last week, nope, just Baltimore, real weird game. And Lions defense, a little scrappy last week. So we'll see if that kind of reverses back to what they looked like before. But sometimes, defenses take a couple weeks and they start to gel, and who knows? So that'll be an interesting one to watch if the Bears defense can get back going, particularly, obviously, Fields at quarterback, whoever ends up playing there, or, even Montgomery, who's had a couple tough weeks too, if he can get it back going like he did week 1. We are going to move along to number 6 here. I am going to shift over to the Philadelphia Eagles, who had a rough go of it last week versus the Dallas Cowboys. I'm sure you love that, Evan. Your Cowboys going 2-1 there over the Eagles. I like them getting it a little bit on track last week. We kind of got a tandem, 2 topics in a row here, me and you, Evan, but I'm going to start with Devonte Smith. I actually like Devonte Smith as a rebound candidate this week going into this game. And why I like Devonte Smith is because he's involved. This is a guy, obviously he's a rookie. He's good. He's involved 24% target rate. Also, he has, when we look at the air yard share on that team, 45% air yards share, number 7 overall for wide receivers there. Also, unrealized air yards, the ones that aren't happening, number 3 overall in the league with 225 unrealized air yards.
An important stat, though.
Granted, that could be like, the quarterback's inaccurate or things like that. But this is a guy who's getting involved. He's getting involved at multiple layers of the field. So it's not like it's all up close. I just think he's too much of a focal point for an offense that, when they're clicking, they could be really good. And Jalen Hurts hasn't been necessarily bad. I actually think that Dallas defense last week, they're just a little bit underrated. I think sometimes defenses, we catch up to understanding who the good ones and the bad ones are during the year. Dallas is a little feisty on defense. I don't think they're going to be a cakewalk for any offensive team playing the Dallas Cowboys this year when they have Parsons and Diggs. And there's a lot of speed on that defense. It's not going to be a walk in the park. So I like Devonte Smith, and in particular in this matchup, he's going to get a good corner matchup versus the Chiefs. The Chiefs haven't really been able to stop anybody necessarily through the air so far, and you tend to get in shootouts with the Chiefs. Just how it goes. You get a score with the Chiefs. That's kind of how it goes. And I know it's your Chiefs, Mike, and I'm sure you don't want to see Devonte Smith doing anything this weekend, but I think he definitely can. KC's given up 2 wide receiver 1 performances recently to Mike Williams and Marquise Brown. So they're definitely susceptible there. It's whether that Philadelphia offense could put it together, and I think they can this weekend with Devonte Smith. So I like that. And just wanted to bring up a thing in the chat. We also had a start-sit question with Devonte Smith, so I'm going to bring it up here. So as you give me your thoughts on Smith in this matchup versus the Chiefs, half-point PPR, 12-team Superflex, would you start Devonte Smith over Brandon Cooks? So I'll start with you, Mike. Give me your thoughts on Smith versus your Chiefs. And then would you be so brave to start him over Brandon Cooks, who can play with anybody this weekend? Cooks going against the Bills. Give me your thoughts on Devonte Smith.
So I am going to refrain on the Devonte Smith until after Evan's point, because I want to see what he has to say before I give a whole Eagles thing. But my answer on this question,
Eagles.
Well, no, because you'll know it's kind of the other way around. But on this question, it's Brandon Cooks, purely because right now Brandon Cooks is eating no matter if it's Davis Mills at the quarterback or not. And until he slows down, I think he's in my lineup.
Nice. Evan, your thoughts?
First off, to this point, I'm actually sitting Brandon Cooks this week. I'll start Devonte Smith over him. Going up against this Bills defense. They are a stud unit.
They are good.
And with Davis Mills at the helm, if it was Tyrod Taylor, then I'd consider Brandon Cooks. But with Davis Mills, this Bills defense is going to give him a hell of a freaking game, and they're going to give him tons of problems. So yeah, while Brandon Cooks, I love the talent, not this week. So yeah, I would start Devonte Smith against a Chiefs defense that has given up the 9th most fantasy points to wide receivers. And we know that Devonte Smith is the clear-cut number one in that offense. While after his, week 1 outing, he looked to kind of be, a lock for a wide receiver 2 at least the rest of the year. He's kind of had some underwhelming performances. But granted, I mean, last week he went up against Trayvon Diggs, the NFC Defensive Player of the Month.
Right.
So,
so good.
Yeah. So, I mean, what do you expect from the rookie there? But no, seriously, against the Chiefs unit, man, I think Devonte Smith's going to eat, like you said. In order for the Eagles to go toe-to-toe with the Chiefs, they're going to have to score. And even if they're not, Hurts is basically a rookie. Devonte Smith is a rookie. Even in blowout games, you're probably going to see them in garbage time just because the coach wants them to get those live reps. And garbage time counts for fantasy purposes too. But yeah, I think against the Chiefs this week, I am in on starting Devonte Smith for sure.
I love it. Yeah, I would go Smith. I mean, it's my point, so I'll go. It's my cheat, so I will go Smith over Cooks as well. It's sort of like law of averages. It's like, okay, if Davis Mills can feed him 1 week, then you're rolling the dice again another week. But I do love Brandon Cooks. He's good, but that's might be a little bit too much to overcome this week. Let's roll right into your number 7 because I know it relates to this. Give me your thoughts on it relates to the Eagles. So go with number 7 of the week here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm starting Jalen Hurts not only this week, but I'm in on him the rest of the season, man. I mean, we've seen how his rushing ability just stabilizes a high floor for fantasy purposes. Even in two down games, against the Niners and the Dallas Cowboys, the red hot Dallas Cowboys, he's even in those disappointing performances, he still got you at least 21 fantasy points in each game. And like I said to, earlier, to the Devonte Smith point, even when the Eagles are losing big, you're going to see the head coach, allow Hurts to stay in there, get those live reps, make those decisions and still, go through his progressions and so forth. Because that's an important thing to any, young player's development. So to this point, like last week against Dallas, he passed for 326 yards and 2 touchdowns. And most of that was in the garbage time, but garbage time production still counts for fantasy purposes, and who knows, that could be the case against the Chiefs this week again, because they are 7-point favorites. But we've seen the Chiefs this year so far, and that defense is not putting fear in anyone's hearts. Vegas expects a lot of points in this one with a total of 54.5 points. Sorry, Mike.
No.
Hot garbage, right?
Josh, they are worse than hot garbage.
Yeah, man. So with a total of 54.5 points, I expect Hurts to put up some big fantasy points for fantasy managers. Lamar Jackson just went off against the Kansas City Chiefs for 33 fantasy points, 2 touchdowns, and a whopping 100.
Couldn't do anything against the Lions.
Yeah, 107 yards on the ground. Right, that's my point. You know what I mean? So yeah, Jalen Hurts, while he isn't quite Lamar Jackson, he has the talent and immense rushing upside. So yeah, I look for him to give you a big game this week. And like I said, not only am I in on him for this game, but moving forward, I have him as a top 10 QB option based off his rushing upside alone, which gives him such a solid floor.
I do love Hurts, even in the inconsistency so far. Such a good fantasy performer so far. That's all I have to say. Love Hurts this week. Mike, what is your overall point on this? I'll let you take the rest of this one.
So are we done talking about the Eagles? So I can say whatever I want now for the rest of the show about the Eagles. All right, so here we go. Sure. I am starting Hurts. I am starting Sanders. I am starting Garrett. Our defense on the Chiefs is worse than hot garbage. It's a dumpster fire. I mean, they are horrible. Hurts is going to eat. I know it. Hurts is going to run against us. I know it. I think Miles Sanders is going to have a good game. I don't care if Andy Reid is going back to Philadelphia on a revenge game from years ago or not. Our defense and Steve Spagnuolo has something wrong. I don't know what it is because I preach that it's okay to have a bend but don't break defense. We have a bend and then don't break and then shatter defense this year. It's horrible. It irks me. As soon as I saw this on the show sheet, I knew I was going to go crazy. And I knew you guys thought I was going to defend the Chiefs, but I'm not. Steve Spagnuolo is turning into Don Sutton as a freaking defensive coordinator. And if they don't do anything and get better throughout this year, I wouldn't doubt if Spagnuolo is gone at the end of the season as a DC, because with the talent we have as an overall team, we should not be this bad. I don't care if we need help. The only good thing on the Chiefs defense besides the secondary is Nick Bolton. That's it.
Yeah, no. And this is a good point. I know it's my brother, but isn't a dumpster fire just hot garbage? It is. That's
yeah,
true.
But it's bad. It's bad. It's bad. It's horrible.
It is just by definition, it is hot garbage. So,
if you're betting on this game, and you're watching us, bet the over.
Yes, well, as we say that, it'll probably be a defensive struggle somehow.
Yeah, 4 turnovers a team. Yeah.
Good God, let's go. That's enough burying your Chiefs, Mike. They have been buried.
Enough.
Let's get to number 8. What do you got for us?
And now I am actually going to praise the division rival. Noah Fant.
It's a tough night for you.
Yeah, it is. But I got to do, as an analyst, I got to be unbiased. So here we go. Noah Fant, I think, is going to have a good game. I would start him in any lineup, and here's why. He has 12 catches out of 17 targets, 110 yards, and only 1 touchdown. That doesn't seem like a lot, but here's the thing. They don't have Jerry Jeudy. Now they're out KJ Hamler. Not saying KJ Hamler was like, a stud in the league and an A receiver. But Baltimore's defense is the worst in the league against tight ends. I know they went up against Kelsey, and I know they went up against Waller. But Fant is a top 10 talent in this league at tight end when he gets the opportunity. I think the opportunity share is going to go up. He has 80% snap share, 18.3% target share. That's actually 6th among tight ends. It doesn't seem like he's getting the target share, but here's the other thing. They are 3-0 against teams that are 0-9 combined. The Jets, the Giants, and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Or 0-10 now with the Jaguars losing last night. Now they're playing a Baltimore team that is going to be competitive. I think Baltimore's going to win the game. But to stay in this game, I think Teddy Bridgewater is going to have to get Noah Fant involved. They're not going to be able to just key on Sutton. Baltimore's defense is a decent D. They're not as good as they have been in the past, but I expect Fant to step up, and I expect Bridgewater to target Fant, and he's going to be maybe not a top 5. He's not going to be a top 5 tight end this week, but he'll be a top 10.
Yeah, it could be top 5. I mean, tight end.
He could be.
That bar is low. It's a low bar.
That bar is low.
But yeah, I mean, just from Hamler's out, like you said, no Jeudy. So really the main focal points of that passing game really should be Patrick, Sutton, and Fant. And obviously I would, I think Fant's a great I think he's a good talent. I think they should get him involved more. You might even see some other, 2 tight end sets, maybe with Albert O out there. I don't know. They could mix that in. But like I definitely could see Fant having a good game. It's always been a tricky one I like Fant. It's always been a tricky one to trust. It just seems like it's just never totally clicked consistently with him. But I think he's a good player. I think if you have him, you're going to roll him out this weekend. And I think it's a good matchup for him. Evan, your thoughts on Noah Fant?
Yeah, for me personally, I'm down on Fant this week. I was all on him last week for, the same reasons that you guys just said. But then, like you said, you can't trust him. He just turned out, 2 poor performances where he saw at least 5 targets, but, he only had 3 of them for 15 yards. So things aren't going to get easier this week. He has seen terrible. The Broncos in general have just seen, a easy schedule to start the season. But I think the Ravens, while they are banged up, I think they're going to give them some struggles this week. And the Ravens are a top 10 defense when it comes to points allowed against tight ends. They're only giving up 7.6 PPR points to tight ends so far this year. So
yeah, they did play Kelsey too, so
yeah,
he's
exactly.
probably holding that up a little bit, But tight end's just it's so hard. I mean, he's such a good play. Tight end's just like such a weird. It's like an RB2. It's like the same
Right. Yeah.
thing.
How many
You're trying to
options do you
find,
have
how
anyway?
many
Yeah.
options you have. I do like Fan. It is really with consistency with him, which we would like to see. I'm going to roll this on though to number 9. I have the final one before we get to our cheat of the week segment. I'm focused on Cleveland's offense here. This is one of my favorite matchups of this week for fantasy. Versus the Vikings. Vikings have found themselves getting to a bunch of shootouts lately. Their defense is not very good. So thus I like what the Cleveland Browns can do against them. Although Cleveland hasn't been the most exciting offense outside of their running game so far, I think this is a weekend where you can rely on a couple parts of their offense. So first of all, Vikings defense versus running backs. They've given up some good games. Particularly to Chris Carson last week. And then against wide receivers, I mean, wide receivers have been able to feast against the Vikings defense this year. You have good games from DK Metcalf, DeAndre Hopkins, Jamar Chase, Rondell Moore, T. Higgins, multiple 15-plus point games to these guys. So it's actually a matchup where I actually like both running backs. You have Hunt, who's RB9 on the year, and you have Chubb, who's RB11 on the year. Once again, you have two running backs on the same team, but this is a running team. They actually run the ball. They're actually first overall in rush attempts, 98 total. So whereas these other teams, you're trying to find one running back who gets a lot of carries, they're giving a lot of touches to both running backs in this offense. I don't see that changing necessarily this week. So I like both Hunt and Chubb this week. And then to add on top of that, I think Odell, 2 weeks in here, assuming that he didn't, he feels good after his first game back. Guy came in last week, first game back in a year, 32% target share, and only played 64% of the snaps. That's not bad for coming back. I expect that probably to go up a little bit if he's feeling good and they're getting him back in the flow of things. But 32% target share, which once again, low passing offense, but he should be the guy that could feast here and have a good fantasy day. So I'd also like Odell. We had a comment in the chat too to go back to Hunt, who I do like in this game. But as you guys look at this game, I'll pass it to you guys. If you had to play a guy, there's multiple questions here, but let's focus on the Hunt part. CEH versus the Eagles or Kareem Hunt versus the Vikings. That's a tough one for me because, I mean, obviously CH came back a little bit last week, but I do like that Kareem Hunt matchup. But I'll pass it to you. Mike, first. Thoughts on Browns in this game, specifically Kareem Hunt and what he can do, and then would you play him over CEH if you had the choice?
Yes, I would. I would play CEH. I mean, I'd play Kareem Hunt over CEH in a second. I just think that CEH I think it's going to be more of a passing game, so I don't think CEH is going to get the run that we think he might. But the running game for the Browns is legit, straight up fire. The one thing I will bring up about the Browns-Minnesota game that is a little interesting is Kevin Stefanski was the offensive coordinator for Minnesota. So both these teams know each other very, very well. So maybe that can play a little bit into the fact, but I would still play Hunt. I'm not the biggest OBJ fan, but with Landry out and with just the way they're playing right now, you kind of have to run with it.
Yeah, he's the only guy that I just liked how he was involved last week. That was I just thought for a guy coming back, he just wasn't.
Oh yeah, I was surprised on how well he was involved.
He looked good too.
He looked better than I thought he would.
Yeah, so I do like him this week. And Viking, I just have liked what teams. I just like the games they play. It's a high scoring affair. It's good for fantasy. So Evan, thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I'm in on this game. I am in on the Vikings to win this game, as you'll soon find out. But I think there's going to be a lot of scoring. And to your Odell point, man, I was so encouraged by how good he looked, fresh off that injury, just coming back in his first game. So I think you can expect another big game by him. And then we know that the Browns have the number one rushing DVOA attack in the league. So look for those backs to go off. again, I think this is just going to be fantasy goodness all around the board. So I too would take my shot on Kareem Hunt over CH. While last week was encouraging, he got into the end zone. He got some of the, with those passes that we've been waiting to see, and he looked, he looked better, but I don't think you can trust him at this point. Kareem Hunt's going to give you that solid floor, it seems, week in and week out. And in a high-scoring affair, we could, look for Hunt to find the end zone.
Yeah, and Hunt, running back 9. Like, that's
exactly. Yeah.
It's like, I mean, a lot of it was I had such a big week last week, but man, they just get both of those guys involved. And before we get to the cheat of the week, just to go back to fan for 1 second, try to get to some of the comments in the chat and the questions. We try to get through our top 10s. We can't get to every single question, but this one related to fans. I just wanted real quick, Fant or Pitts PPR rest of the season. I'll throw it to you, Mike, since you brought up Fant. It's a tough one.
This is a really tough one because Atlanta hasn't really done anything that they thought they would. At this point, I still want to lead. At this point, I still want to lean Pitts, but if Atlanta doesn't pull their head out of their rear end soon, it ain't happening.
Yeah, it's been frustrating. Evan, Hugh, Pitts or Fant?
For me, it's still early in the season. We're not going to see teams that have looked so bad continue to be that bad all year, and vice versa. But I just think that Matt Ryan is a veteran. I think he will, start to figure it out. I think he'll start to realize that he has 2 elite weapons in Calvin Ridley and Kyle Pitts, and start to utilize them. So I am still in on Pitts. I'm going to bet on his talent to win out rest of the season.
I'll make it a clean sweep there. I believe in Pitts. We'll ride with that. But it is close, but I will pick Pitts there rest of the season, just slightly over Fant. But they're both good because it's tight end. So with that said, enough tight end. Let's get to our cheat of the week segment. This is number 10. We each give 3 quick topics to round out the week. We'll start this with you, Evan. What is your cheat of the week this week for week 4?
All right, so my cheat of the week, I'm going to kind of keep it along the betting front, which I've tried to do, each week so far, and it's worked out. So, yeah, I'm going to try to keep this streak alive and go with another underdog pick. In week 1, I took the Browns to cover against Mike's Chiefs, which they covered. Week 2, me and Mike both picked the Titans to upset the Seahawks. They came through for us. And then last week, I was all over the Packers money line, as you guys know, and they covered and ended up. Yeah, made me sweat because it did end up being a thriller in San Fran. But in the end, Green Bay, Mason Crosby came through for me and us, whoever followed that bet. So far this season, this is mind-boggling. So far this season, underdogs of 3 points or less are 11-5 against the spread. That's a 69% hit rate. And then probably the craziest stat is this. All 11 have not only covered, but they've won straight up. So that means a $100 bet on short money line dogs would have netted you $828, off them alone, just $100, which is a 52% return on investment. And that's per Bet Labs, over at Action Network, which I think is like a must have for anybody that bets. But yeah, I just thought that was freaking crazy. So anyway, cool stats, but to my underdog, I'm going with the Minnesota Vikings getting 2 points against the Cleveland Browns. Minnesota is at home, so I give them, which Vegas usually does. They give you, usually 3 points for home field advantage, which we're only seeing them give it 2. But, I'm going to give them the full 3 because Minnesota is a tough place to go in, and I think it's going to be a shootout. So, yeah, with 3 for the home field advantage, I love the value I'm getting on the Vikings. Now, Minnesota has been terrible in the first half of games, and their defense is not the greatest. So like I said, I think this is a shootout because we know Cleveland's rushing attack is no joke. Number 1 rushing DVOA attack in the league. So, Cleveland could come out and screw this one up for me early, but I'm banking on the streak to stay alive. I'm banking on the Vikings to continue to be impressive offensively. Kirk Cousins has been on fire. I think he stays hot with those 2 stud pass catchers. whether we get Dalvin Cook back or not, it would be a plus if we did. But Alexander Mattison is, more than a good fill-in for him. So yeah, I am going to once again, take an underdog here. Minnesota's at home. I'm betting on the home underdog. They've been profitable for me and other bettors so far. And then I'm going to rely on a little more numbers here. Mike Zimmer is 24-11-1 against the spread in non-division games. That's a 68.9% percentage. And then he's 9-4 against the spread as a home dog, 69.2%. I am on the home dogs to keep this streak alive.
I love it. A lot of great percentages there.
Unreal, man. I'm betting on the numbers, man.
Yeah. I will not bet on this just so I don't screw you up, because I'm sure if I jump on Minnesota in this game, they will lose outright by like 10 points. But Mike, quick thoughts on that. Let's jump right to your cheat of the week. If you have any thoughts on Minnesota.
I haven't even decided on this game yet, because like Evan said, it's too close. It's so close that I haven't been able to figure out what I want to do on this one. But Evan might have swayed me, and I'll let you know. All right, so my cheat of the week. Red zone targets is a big stat in the NFL, and it's even a bigger stat than we think when it comes to the rankings of the wide receivers so far. We talked about Cooper Kupp earlier in the show, so here we go. Out of the top 9 red zone targets in the league, in all positions, 7 of them are wide receivers, led by Keenan Allen at 9. This is through week 3. Keenan Allen at 9, Mike Williams at 8, Ridley and Kupp at 7, Waller and Pascal also at 7, Amari Cooper, yes, your Amari Cooper, Evan, at 6, along with Najee Harris and Cole Beasley. The reason I bring this up is 4 out of those 7 wide receivers are in the top 12 in PPR points for wide receivers. Cooper Kupp at 1, Mike Williams at 2, Keenan Allen at 12. So here's the biggest thing to me is it's not a rule that they're gonna be the top guys, but go ahead and look at those stats, because those are indicators that the team trusts them in the key points. And a red zone target, even if they're at 30% percentage success rate on a red zone target, and that's close to the end zone, that's a good chance you're going to get 6 points just from that. And then we all know about Waller, and we all saw what happened to Najee Harris last week. And if they're going to keep targeting him like they do, with the wide receivers keep getting banged up, Deontay is banged up, Juju's coming back, Claypool's still dinged up. If Najee Harris keeps getting the targets he does, I don't think that Beasley's going to keep it up, because I still think that Diggs is going to start eating more. I think Sanders is still going to get involved more. And if Evans right, Moss will probably get involved more, and I think the running backs in general get involved more. But red zone targets is a key stat that I think the casual fans, the casual players need to pay attention to more than they do.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Red zone, obviously big for fantasy points. I'll get to my last one so we can wrap things up for week 4. And I have a fun one here. I don't know if you've heard of Sunday night's game, Brady's return to my New England Patriots. Belichick versus Brady. This is it. This is all for all the marbles. Who is better? Who is responsible for the dynasties, the 20 years of brilliance from the Patriots? Is it Belichick? Is it Brady? We decided on Sunday night. I wanted to throw it back, though, just for a fun look back to the last time something close to this happened. Denver Broncos versus the Indianapolis Colts in 2013. Peyton Manning played his entire career for the Colts, moves on to the Broncos. He gets to face the heir apparent, Andrew Luck, in 2013. This was a high-scoring affair, the Broncos versus the Colts. The Colts, led by Andrew Luck, win 39-33 over Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning was really good in this game, which I expect Brady to be good. On Sunday night, he threw for 386 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. But Andrew Luck had a clean slate, no interceptions threw for 228 and 3 touchdowns. Just for some blast from the past here of guys that were involved just for fun. Eric Decker, 8 for 150 and a touchdown. You had Reggie Wayne involved in this game on the Colts side. So that was Peyton Manning returns to the Colts. Brady versus the Pats this weekend. Play your Buccaneers. I think Brady, he wants to get to that touchdown record. He's going to throw. That team doesn't really run the ball because their running backs aren't that great. So I think their passing game is good. I don't think the Pats run the ball at all either. But how about why doesn't it echo that game from 2013? Mac Jones, the new face of the Patriots, leads the Patriots over the Buccaneers and gets a win. I don't know, 30-23. Why not?
Wow.
It's not going to happen, but it would be fun. But
no,
Andrew
man,
Luck
stand
beat Peyton
on it.
Manning.
Plant
Andrew
your
Luck
flag.
beat Peyton Manning. Mac Jones beats Tom Brady this weekend. Lock it in. Don't bet on it, but lock it in. I love it. But good fantasy game, I think, from the passing perspective. But I don't know about the rushing game. But that was a fun one to look back and just see Manning versus Colts. Now we get Brady this weekend, which I don't know how I'm going to handle emotionally this weekend, but I'll get through it. Don't worry about it. So I think that wraps it up for us this weekend. Let's get your final word. Let's run it around round robin. Give me your Twitter handles one more time where we can find you. Last thoughts on week 4. We'll start with you, Evan.
All right. So you can, find us here every Friday, obviously, for the cheat sheet. And then at Twitter, at EV_Rit3, at EV_RITT3 at Twitter. And then all my work is at goingfor2.com. I'm working on my betting article for this week right now. I should have that out, tomorrow afternoon. But yeah, other than that, for week 4, I'm ready to, like I said, my main thing for week 4 is focusing on keeping this underdog streak alive and bouncing back from a rough DFS week. So yeah, definitely tune in on Sunday as well at 11 a.m. where we'll go over start sit questions and me and Gerson will answer a lot of your DFS questions as well. So yeah, if you need any DFS help, tune in on Sunday at 11. But yeah, glad we got another week in the books, fellas. So thanks again.
All right, Mike, where we can find you?
All right, you can find me at Drop the Mic FF on Twitter. You can find my stuff on goingfor2.com, just like Evan. And you can also find me in the rankings. I do PPR rankings for Going for 2 every week as well. Other than that, I can't wait for week 4 and see you guys next week.
Awesome. And I am at JAYC_DFF. Once again, I am Jay Christensen. You could find me writing at goingfor2.com and also potting at Brothers of Dynasty. That's at Bros of Dynasty on Twitter. For Evan, for Mike, that is it for week 4. Enjoy this weekend's games and go Patriots. We will see you next week. Later.